Alright, you guys know what time it is. It is another ban list reaction. So I'm a little bit late to this one as I was currently sleeping. I really did not expect a ban list to be dropped today, so I'm like 3 or so hours late, meaning this video's viewership, it's probably going to tank quite a bit, but that doesn't matter. I think most people who watch my channel probably want to see a reaction from me anyway, so yeah, I thought I'd just put one out there. So what to expect on this ban list? There should be TEARLAMENT and SPRIGHT. That should be it. There should be absolutely nothing else on here, as it's not really... There's a bunch of things that are currently really top tier and meta relevant, but there's nothing that's obviously anywhere near those two deck lists. Branded sort of gets close, but not really, and even then, that's only really because of new support, so it'd be kind of weird to sort of hit some of the branded stuff now, since that stuff literally just came out. So I'm expecting just SPRIGHT, just TEARLAMENT, and that should just be all that's on this ban list. And it's one of those sort of monthly ban lists. It's not one of those KC Cup or Worlds qualifier sort of event lists. It should be fairly lenient, I reckon. Although Worlds is coming up fairly soon, so maybe Konami want to sort of limit a whole bunch of stuff before that comes out. I'm not sure if this is the last ban list we're going to get before Worlds. Maybe there's going to be one more. I'm not really sure how that works, so... If this is sort of the Worlds ban list, or what they want for the Worlds meta, maybe they'll go a bit harsher, but I'll be sort of surprised if they do, since they really kind of went a bit harsher on the last ban list, so we'll see what's on here anyway. Alright, so before getting to the reaction, just a reminder, if you guys enjoy this kind of content and want to see more ban list reaction videos from me, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below, so you don't miss out whenever I do reactions and talk about new ban list content and whatever else I do on my channel, so yeah, alright, let's get into it. First card on the list. Metaverse. Okay, so this literally just got put to 2, and I complained about it, because this card is literally only used in Floodgate style decks, as you'll see. It's used in, like, Subterra and Spiral, just stuff that's really, you know, not exactly the most fun sort of decks to play against. It doesn't encourage the most fun sort of playstyle. It's generally used for things like Necro Valley, or in the case of Subterra, I think their Field Spell. It's just a very boring card. I don't really like seeing this card being unlimited. I'd like it to be kept locked away as long as possible. It's very cringe. But hey, at least we don't have Mystic in mind in this game, so it won't affect anything really, though, because none of these decks are at all relevant, so it's more of just a cringe sort of unlimited, I guess. Alright, next up. Oh, that's... Normally on these, like, mini ban lists, they go pretty hard on the, unlimits to sort of... Because normally I go so hard on banning stuff, because they're one of these small ban lists, they sort of go really heavy on the unlimits, but they've kind of just done, like, one. Alright, there's maybe some other cards lower down that gets unsemi-limited or something. Branded Fusion. Alright, I mean, OCG just cuts at 1, but I'm kind of surprised, because this stuff literally only just got buffed, and it's currently not the best deck, but like I did say, it is probably the only other sort of top tier-ish deck that really needed to be hit, because there's only really 3 big top tier decks at the moment. There's Tier, there's Branded, and there's SPRIGHT, and all of them are a lot healthier after the last ban list, but and Branded technically never got any hits, it just got buffed, so it kind of was able to compete with them a little bit. So I guess this sort of tones down its power level a little bit, but I don't really... Yeah, I'm not a super big fan of this one, just because I don't think the deck is... It's fairly... I think it's too soon to be hitting this deck. I think the other... Plus, I don't think it's like... It's not as strong as those other 2 decks, and those other 2 decks are the only ones that really needed to be actually looked at. It's just sort of was good, so I don't know about this one. Sure, I guess. It's only a consistency hit. This won't actually affect the deck all that much. It just means you're going to be opening Branded Fusion a whole lot less. Well, not even that much less, so... And then, even with a new support, there's ways to search Branded Fusion easier, so it's not like you're really going to be that inconsistent. I still suspect this deck will be easily tier 2. Alright, which is where I think it currently is. Okay, so this is sort of makes sense. This is just sort of lining up with the other nerf, with the other SPRIGHT. Yeah, sure, put it to 2. This won't really affect the deck all that much. Once again, it's just going to be a consistency hit. To be fair, I really don't like these sort of nerfs, but the alternative was, like, nerfing SPRIGHT's, SPRIGHT's, what is it? The one that revives stuff from the graveyard, the Link 2, because that's what's currently, I think, banned in TCG. I'm not sure about OCG. And that would be pretty bad for Master Duel, I reckon. I don't particularly want that card banned, so I think this is sort of the only only one that makes sense if you're going to continue to nerf only consistency, which is what they seem to be going for with this deck list, because this deck's got so many limit 2s now, it's actually kind of ridiculous, so... Yeah, I mean, sure. Consistency hits are generally not that fun in my opinion, because if they nerf consistency continuously, the deck can still sort of go all out on whatever end board it wants to go for. It just does it less often, and less often going for the absolute big end boards, but they just got their new Link monster, their new Sprite Sprint, so, I mean, it's not like the deck will suffer that much. It's just going to be doing cool stuff less often, I guess, so... Yeah, not a huge fan of, like, limit 2 consistency hit bullshit. But hey, now it's in between OCG and TCG, 1 and 3. Sure. Alright. The frog as well. I mean, I'm not really a fan of this at all. In fact, I really dislike this sort of hit. Because this hit's obviously aimed at Sprite. But I hate hits that are, like, hurting... just random-ass old archetypes that have, like, just because it's being used with Sprite, it deserves to get hit. You'll see it's unlimited in OCG and TCG, but then again, they also have, Toad banned and Rodent Totem banned, or whatever they've got banned in each individual, region. I don't know, I don't... Because it hurts like decks like Paleo Toad that's already, like, completely dead because we've lost the actual Xyz Toad. But I guess those decks are already dead without that card anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't know. These hits are just gonna make the deck more bricky, and that's basically it. It's not like... I'm pretty sure the replacement, at least for me, will just be I'm gonna add one more copy of Kara and one more copy of the red. Simply because I know a lot of other people are already doing that. It's just, I'm just gonna add those two. I don't think there's many other level 2s I really want in my deck list, so... Those two will be the new additions. I don't think I'll cut the frog or anything, because the frog is really important. Putting this to 2 is actually a pretty big downer, because it's not even, like... I say it's a consistency hit, but that's not even, like, the end of it, because you're quite often sending this card to the graveyard, and you're continuously reviving it. Now you've got one less revive from it, which is pretty bad, actually. That's one less monster on the field. So you gained one more monster from Sprite Sprint, and now you've now lost a monster. So, it means... Most of the time, your end board might end on -1 card, which is generally going to be just the minus Ronin at the end of the turn. So you can end on this full end board, but you have to sort of choose what cards to sort of tribute to use your negates. So, I think this one's more... Honestly, this one's probably more impactful than this one. This is actually kind of impactful. This one, it's sort of just a... Yeah, alright, consistency hit, whatever. This one actually might have an impact on the end board, so we'll see. I don't think they're going to cut this card, though, as it's pretty important. Especially considering we just added new water monsters to the deck list. It'd be kind of weird to cut this, but... yeah. This actually is a pretty big impact, this one. Alright. Okay, so no Tearlament cards yet. Also, no extra unlimits or anything. Interesting. Cards to be limited, so there should be some tiers on here. I'm assuming the one Ishizu card that isn't on the ban list yet should be on here. Or the one that isn't put to 1 yet. Oh my god, my comment section is gonna hate this. Oh my god, every ban list. What is there? Okay, at this point, before, I hate FLOOWANDEREEZE, I hate the deck, I really want it banned, oh no, not banned, I really wanted it sort of like limited and not played as much. But then they banned the terraforming last patch, last ban list, and I was like, okay, well, sure, that'll do. You've hit the deck enough, fine, right? It's already been banned, or nerfed a billion times. It's only relevant because it specifically can play Tearlament counters. That's literally the only reason it's played. Otherwise, I think even in current format, it's probably not that great anymore because, yeah, Tier isn't the strongest deck, and I think this deck loses pretty hard to Sprite. So even I think this deck will probably lose pretty hard to Branded. So. Yeah. They actually continue... What is their obsession with nerfing just this deck? How many ban lists... This thing's been on more ban lists than, any other deck in the game. And it's not even that good. They're hard nerfing a tier 3 deck. Think about that. They're hard nerfing a tier 3 deck. What? It's not even a nice nerf. It's like, yeah, Sprite, you guys go to 2. Branded, you can go to 2. Floowandereeze boss monster? You can only play one of that now. I know there's like some recursion in the deck and stuff, but bro, that's like... That is just rude. It's such a weird ban. OCG, TCG, I've never seen anything like this. Oh, my comment section's gonna hate this. My comment section loves this deck list. They complain every ban list whenever something's hit about it. I actually can't believe they did this. Holy shit. How impactful will this be on the deck list? I mean, the deck was already pretty... was probably already on its way out of the top tiers, I would have imagined. Just purely because, like I said, it's not that good into Sprite. It's not that good into Branded. It's just like a pseudo TEARLAMENT counter. So once those decks became popular and the top tier, this one was probably sort of on the way out of the top tiers already. And now it's like, yeah. My guess, and this is going to sound really awful for Konami, is this deck is incredibly free to play. And because of that, I think Konami don't like it existing. They want people to actually spend money on their game, and there's probably too many people playing this free-to-play deck list and have been for too long, so they're just trying to get people to stop playing it, which is pretty cringe, I'll be honest. Yeah, I heavily disagree with this ban as much as I hate Floowandereeze. This is an awful hit. I don't know what they're thinking. This was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, for people that don't know, there was recently a big YCS tournament, and the winner of that tournament basically used this card to delete their opponent's entire hand. Yeah, they just nuked their opponent's entire hand, and the final, the stream's final that everyone saw, big clip that's gone viral on Twitter and stuff, was just, opponent activates this, other guy concedes. That was literally just how it worked. So, this is good as going to 1, but unfortunately, and this is a very big but, it's searchable. So, well, it's going to be searchable in the new deck list. At least, as far as I'm aware, it's going to be used in Labyrinth, and I assume it's searchable. At least I remember it being searchable. Maybe I'm completely out of my mind. Like I said, I don't really play TCG, but I was pretty sure this card was going to be searchable in that deck list anyway. And if that's the case, putting it to 1 does nothing. You'll just search for it and use it turn 1 anyway. So, sure. In fact, I think most TCG deck lists were actually only playing it at 1, because it's, like I said, searchable, so... Yeah, okay, sure. It was also like a side deck card as well, because not everyone was playing spell-heavy hands. But yeah. Sure. I personally would have preferred this to be a 0. This card is incredibly cringe. It's from like a decade where I assume this thing was like actually released IRL during some like ancient old set, because that's what it reads like. There's no way this thing is actually like a recently released card. It's so unfun to play against. Just nuke every single spell card your opponent has in hand is like, wow, that's fair and balanced. I'm really gonna have a fun game of Yu-Gi-Oh! My entire hand in the graveyard. So yeah, I prefer this to be a 0, but a step in the right direction. Also confirming Labyrinth next pack, which we already knew because What's-His-Face leaked it again. Alright. Okay, there is a nerf to tier. So they're putting Sulliek to 1, which is a pretty big deal because it's one of their search cards. Or their main search card. Sulliek to 1, huh? Yeah, it's a fairly big deal. It's one of the main... I actually say this is a fairly big consistency hit, because using 2 of your main searches on your mills is pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I actually quite like this. It's currently not limited in TCG or OCG, and I actually think this is one of the cards that them hitting it was actually not a bad idea. Yeah, I quite like this. It's just a fat consistency hit to the deck list for your mills. So you mill this card, and you normally search for a card. Can't really do that anymore. You also can't... If you accidentally mill this thing, it's kind of harder to get it back now. I know there's ways in tiers to add trap cards back from graveyard, but in general, if you mill this thing, you can't search for it. So, but generally, they're searching for the other trap card anyway, because the other trap card is you're out to evenly matched, so you generally have to go for it. So this is not really... Yeah, it's just purely a consistency hit type thing. I don't mind it though, because there's a lot of times in Tearlament where they would actually just hard open this trap card, or they would be allowed to search for it. And in doing so, it meant that when they could still do their mills as well, they'd use it as a search, and then they'd be able to search for it as well, which felt really bad. So at least now it's sort of going to be like a one or the other type thing. If you're searching for this, you can have really bad mills, or if you mill this thing and you've got to search, you're not going to have access to the trap card. So it's sort of whatever. I think there should be a bit more... Judging by how harsh they were on Sprite, I assume there's gonna be more on here. I hope. Oh. Oh. I see. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Wait, there's literally no new unlimits like they normally do. Other than Metaverse. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I think this is the worst ban list I think they've ever done. This ban list is horrendous. What is these hits? This hit's completely fine, but like... M-Pen? Nerfing a deck that only just became sort of... I guess this deck has been relevant for ages, but they only just got some new support for it. Feels kind of bad. And the Toad one is along with... Why did Sprite get hit harder than Tier? I don't know. At least give me some unlimits to go with. This is such a boring ban list, and it's a lame one at that. What is this FLOOWANDEREEZE hit? Actually, this deck got hit so hard for no reason. This deck got hit as hard as Tier did. Literally the same amount of limits. What? Alright, well... Okay, maybe it's not the worst ban list they've ever done, but it's definitely a shit ban list. This is a lame-ass ban list. They normally do so many unlimits. Why the hell are they like, yeah... Metaverse. Whatever. Alright, let me know down below what you guys think. Is this a really good ban list? Do you disagree? Do you think this is one of the best ban lists they've ever done? And good on Konami for doing not really a whole lot outside of making FLOOWANDEREEZE players cry. Either way, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Laters.